The best way to get better at programming is to practice. And in this example, we're going to be parsing data out of a file so that we can do something with it. As always, these files are available for download using a link provided below in the description. We'll wait a couple of seconds for you, and then you can follow along with us. All right, so let's get started. If you look at this looks very familiar to our last example. The difference is we're looking at data3.txt instead of data2. If we come over here and look at data3, you can see it is what's known as a comma-separated value file. That is, there's a series of files and every one is separated by a comma. So we have an ID number, a first name, last name, an email address, and then a city where they reside. So let's see, how are we going to work on this? Well, we're going to take the same basic idea, except I need to do a couple of minor things. So I'm going to add a new element on line 17. This is going to be a string, but it's going to be an array of strings. So we're going to call this values, and we're not going to do anything with it just yet. Inside of our while, we need to take our string and split it up so it goes into the individual values of that values array. The easiest way to do that is we're going to say values equals str dot, and remember str is our string that we read in from the file. Well, we can perform a split operation. And this method will split it up based upon some regular expression and then put it into an array of strings. In our case, we're going to say, you know what? I want it to be a comma. So now we're going to take this value and we're going to split it up. Now we have the array value of strings. What are we going to do from here? Well, now what we could do is we could maybe pass this into a constructor and build an object for an employee or a customer, whatever type of person this is. We could convert this data and kind of manipulate it, do something with it. In our case, for simplicity's sake, we are just going to print it out. How are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to say system.out println, and I'm going to say values index 1, that's my first name, plus, put a space, plus values at index 2, that's my last name, lives in values index 4. Notice I'm not using index 0, that's the ID, we don't need it. And I'm not using index 3, which is the email address, because we also don't need it. We're doing something simple. We don't have to use all of our data, and this is a great example of that. I'm then going to comment out my system.out.println, and that's because we don't need to see the whole line, we only need to see the values we're looking for. If I come up here and run this, you can see here's all my different pieces of information. Now, periodically, you're going to find a character like a question mark. This is probably because we are not set up to use UTF right now inside of Java, and it's using some UTF characters, so it's run into a character it doesn't understand. That is perfectly okay. If we were to set this up to use UTF and have UTF strings, we would see the correct characters. So don't worry about that part. We can see that what we're doing is working correctly, and that's the important part. Like I said, we could have just as easily put this into a class constructor to create objects. We could have run some other thing. It can be any type of data, and quite often we run into data that is coming as a comma-separated value or a tab-separated value or something like that. And so we have to be able to parse that. So using that split operation and being able to put it into an array is a huge benefit for us. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If so, please give it a like and then consider and then subscribe so you can see more videos on how to get better at programming.